Today, I'm going to be showing you guys how I build my teams in Regulation H. Now, for me, every good team starts with a little bit of meta-analysis. Now, for me, when it comes to meta-analysis, at least right now in the early format, there's no better place to find data than Limitless VGC. So I will link this down below in the description, guys, along with every other resource we use today. But essentially, what I like to do is I jump on a website like this where, we just had a big tournament. This was the Himi Tour event. I did cover it the other day. We had about 450 plays in this event. A lot of different teams, a lot of different stats, a lot of really good stuff we can pull from this. And yeah, for me personally, I like to analyze it, especially try to figure out like what's good and what I need to answer, right? So for what I did for this video in particular, I went down and wrote the top 12 Pokemon, or the 12 biggest threats in my opinion, in the metagame currently, which is basically just going to be these 12 here, right? So I basically went and I threw them into Maryland Team Builder here as well. For me, I like putting them here simply just for a visual representation, right? Like, this, to me, this is good at saying like, hey, okay, a few of these guys are weak to fire, ground's pretty good here. You'll see there's 2 fighting weaknesses here, another 2 fighting weaknesses here. Grass is also pretty good, right? Stuff like that. Yeah, for me, it's just nice to see the visual, see the big, the big red stuff pop up. Now, obviously, in saying that, this section here does have 3 normal types, so it is a bit, different, and so on and so forth, right? They will be a bit different. It is a lot easier to put it down in a spreadsheet, but for this video in particular, I just wanted to use Maryland as a little bit of a visual representation, right? So then I went over here, basically I just wrote down the names of all those threats, right? So I wrote them all down there. Basically looking at that, I said, what do I need to find answers to, right? So one is fake out spam. Obviously, Rillaboom and Incineroar are 2 of the best Pokemon in the format. They commonly pair pretty well together as well. So because of that, they can just fake out cycle you, right? One fakes out, the other one switches it. Sorry, one fakes out, the other cycles, and then, whatever mon comes in can protect it. You cycle back in the Incin. Obviously, just creating this never-ending cycle of just fake out, spam, protect, pivot out, all that kind of stuff, right? Gholdengo, one of the biggest offensive threats in the game right now. Definitely something you have to keep an eye out for. Intimidate, obviously, is Incineroar's ability. And there are other, a few other Intimidators as well that are running around that are pretty good. The Rain archetype right now is fantastic. Spore is very, very good from Amoonguss. Mouse Ape is a very strong combo. Blood Moon is also an incredibly powerful Pokemon, very similar to Gholdengo. Dondozo is a very strong core as well. Same with Psyspam. So that was kind of what I did, at least to start things off, right? That was just kind of my baseline template of, okay, these are the things when I start building this team I need to look out for, right? Now the big question comes, how do I want to play? How do I want to build this team? What is the style in which I want to go with? And for me personally, I love hyper offense, right? I like clicking Tailwind, I like going first, and I love absolutely nuking the opposing teams, right? So the question is then, who is going to be my Tailwind setter? So we're going to Showdown here. You can just type in Tailwind, and it'll basically show you everything with Tailwind in the game. Now, the thing is, right, I'm not looking to use a Pokemon like Altaria or Bombardier as my Tailwind setter. Ideally, it would be a priority Tailwind. So there are 2 options we have, right? We basically have Pokemon with Prankster. So as you guys can see here, we have 4 legal Pokemon that all have Prankster. And there is one other one with Gale Wings, right? That is the hidden ability of Talonflame. Gale Wings basically means if you're all your flying type moves have +1 priority if you're at full HP. So our options essentially, in my opinion, were these 3 here. I'm not going to run Illumise or Volbeat, I'm sorry, Murkrow, yeah. So essentially, these are the 3 Pokemon, right, that you can kind of play around with Tailwind. Now, in my opinion, they all function pretty different roles, right? So Murkrow's really, in my opinion, the key feature it has, it's the one Tailwind setup that has access to both Rain Dance and Sunny Day, meaning it can play in it can play in weather. Of course, it has Tailwind, and then it is also your Dondozo check plus an incredible partner for Gholdengo, right? With Gholdengo, you can haze away the minus special attack it gets from clicking Make It Rain. Can set Tailwind, of course, very good into Dozo's or Haze, and then you can also set Weather if need be. Now, Whimsicott is the best support of the group. Obviously, it does have Tailwind, but it has access to basically just a ridiculous amount of status moves, right? If you take a look here, Cotton Guard is pretty decent. You probably wouldn't run it though. Encore is fantastic on this one for locking Pokemon into Protect. Fake Tears is very good on hyper offensive teams. Same with Helping Hand. You also get Light Screen as well if you want a little bit of extra survivability. It gets access to things like Switcheroo. It gets Priority Taunt. It gets Charm. Cotton Spore is also a fantastic support move, right? The list goes on and on, right? You can also change terrain as well if you have a really weak matchup into Psyspam. And it also has Sunny Day as well, so you can play Whimsicott on a Sun team. But the final piece is Talonflame. Now, Talonflame is the option we went for on this team, simply because, one, obviously, it is the fastest of the 3, which is, in my opinion, really important. And 2, with access to Brave Bird, you can actually kind of force the Terra out early on Whimsicott, because if your opponent leads Whimsicott, you lead Talonflame, you can actually outspeed and one-shot them with Brave Bird, but we'll get into that a little bit later. So basically, the starting piece here was Talonflame, at least in terms of the Tailwind side of things. There was one other Pokemon in particular I really wanted to build around for this team, and that was Hisuian Decidueye. Now, I'll kind of go through real quick, I guess, why Hisuian Decidueye was decided on this team. So when we take a look at some of these top threats, right? Obviously, Decidueye is a grass type. We'll also have a look at its stats really quickly as well. Its HP and defense and special defense are all pretty solid, right? Its defense is a little low. Its HP is like pretty decent, and special defense is actually really good. So in terms of bulk, this one, for the most part, will normally be able to just eat, any hits that aren't super effective relatively easy. But when we take a look at the top Pokemon here, right? So we see Rillaboom here is a grass type, right? So you don't really care too much about it as Hisuian Decidueye because it's really not doing any damage to you. Gholdengo obviously is a steel type, but it's also a ghost type. So normally you can't hit them with fighting type moves. But Hisuian Decidueye's signature ability, or hidden ability, I should say, sorry, is Scrappy, which basically allows it to hit ghost type moves for basically normal damage, right? So therefore, its fighting type moves coming off this Pokemon with Triple Arrow is actually super effective on Gholdengo, which is very, very important in the current metagame. We see Incineroar here as well. Incineroar is a Pokemon that has Intimidate. Scrappy blocks Intimidate. It is also weak to fighting type moves. So another very, very good pick there. Pelipper, honestly, it's probably like a 60-40 in Pelipper's favor. You can deal a lot of damage, especially if you have speed control on the side of the Decidueye. But for the most part, Pelipper can almost always threaten to one-shot you with Hurricane. Archaludon is another really good matchup as well for Decidueye because of the really the bonuses you get from Triple Arrow, right? This move is pretty damn broken. As you guys can see here, it's a high crit rate move. It has a 50% chance to drop the opponent's defense by 1, and it also has a 30% chance to flinch. When we look at Archaludon, you'll see it has the ability Stamina. Basically, every time it gets hit, its defense goes up 1, and this Pokemon can snowball pretty quickly, right, with Body Press. And that's another big reason why Hisuian Decidueye is really good, because it, 1, has a 50% chances to drop that defense, but also 2, it's a high crit rate move, which means if you pair it with something like Scope Lens, you have a 50% chance to crit every time. And when you're hitting for super effective damage, you can basically one-shot Archaludons. Again, we can go through all of this. Amoonguss, you restore immunity. Annihilate, again, it's a ghost type, but you don't care. You can just hit it with Scrappy, potentially flinch it. You can crit it through its bulk up. It's very good. Bloodmoon Ursaluna, you hit it for super effective damage, and you're bulky enough to live a hit. Mousehold, again, you can also just one-shot this with Triple Arrow. You can one-shot Palafin with Leaf Blade. You can one-shot Dondozo with Leaf Blade. And again, that's another thing as well I probably should mention. Going back to the whole Scope Lens stuff, Leaf Blade is also a high crit rate move. So there's a 50% chance to crit this move, which means into Dondozo, there's just a 50% chance you crit it. And if you crit it, you're doing a lot of damage to it. Not to mention you resist the moves it normally goes for, right? It likes to run things like Wave Crash, Earthquake, and then like Order Up or Sub, right? So if they go Wave Crash, Earthquake, you resist both the moves. You're normally at least getting one attack off. It's fantastic. And then Indeedee, obviously, final one on the list. You don't have an amazing matchup into Indeedee / Psy Spam, but Triple Arrow can still do a lot of damage. And like 30% of the time, you just stop them from getting up Trick Room, which is pretty cool. So yeah, that's basically the starting point, and that's why I picked these two Pokemon to be the starting point of this team. So now that we have the starting point of our team, we have Talonflame, we have Decidueye, we need to start thinking about other pieces to pair with these two Pokemon. Now, one thing we can do, as I said, is go back to, our analysis page here and kind of figure out what partners work really, really well with this core. And the first one that, basically I saw jump off the page to me was Gholdengo, right? I'm a huge fan of Gholdengo in the current metagame. Make It Rain is broken. It's also one of the best steel types in the game, and it pairs incredibly well with a Pokemon like Talonflame. So that was the next easy piece for me to put on this team. Now, the other thing as well that I started noticing is we have a fire type, we have a grass type, but we do not have a water type, right? Our answers to Dondozo are also pretty thin at the moment. Again, Decidueye is not bad into the matchup, but Talonflame and Gholdengo aren't the greatest. So I wanted a water type that also has a pretty solid matchup into Dondozo. Now, there are a few, right? Because if you have a look at water types that have haze, we actually have quite a lot of options here, right? There are a lot of options for Pokemon that are pretty good into it. Palafin is one of the better ones. Milotic as well is also really good. But the option I went for on this team was Primarina. Now, I went Prim for a couple reasons. So one of the biggest issues I have when I play a hyper-offensive team is opposing Trick Room, essentially, right? So when you go up against Trick Room teams, one of the hardest things to do is actually survive hits when you're playing incredibly fast, incredibly hyper-offensive. And I think a Pokemon like Primarina is really good on these teams because you can run a little investment into the speed, basically outspeed everything you need to, but also still be bulky enough to play under Trick Room if need be. So that's kind of why we went Prim. It rounded out a Fire Water Grass core pretty nicely. And not to mention, I just think it's really good right now. It's probably the best Fairy type in the game, and it's definitely one of the best water types as well. And in a metagame where there really isn't too many Fairy types, I do think it's really important to have a solid one. So now that we kind of have the core of the team rounded out, it's pretty important to start thinking about what your team really needs to kind of enable it to go. Now, one of the biggest issues I noticed with this team, basically straight away, was we have Talonflame, right? It has the priority Tailwind. It's also an incredibly fast Pokemon, but our other three pieces are all relatively slow. Now, don't get me wrong, they all function pretty good in Tailwind, but if you have a look, base 60 speed, base 84, and then base 60, we're actually really slow, and in opposing Tailwind versus Tailwinds, we're actually in a pretty bad position, because a lot of the time we'll be going up against things like base 100 Pokemon that can give us a lot of trouble. We also have other issues as well. While we have 2 Spore immunities currently, we're not very good into, Amoonguss in general, right? Obviously, Talonflame can do a bit of damage, Gholdengo can as well, but there was one Pokemon that kind of jumped off the page that I feel like filled a lot of issues the team had. Another big one as well was Rain. Looking at the team, we're not bad into Rain, but again, we're not fantastic. And that's where Electabuzz came into mind. So Electabuzz is a really interesting Pokemon. Now, I will answer this quickly as well, because I do get asked this a lot. Why Electabuzz over Electivire? The answer is a Violite. That's like really the big one in my opinion. If we have a look at Electivire and Electabuzz, also its speed as well, that's another big thing. But if you have a look at their bulk here, right? So Electivire has 10 more HP, 10 more defense, and the exact same special defense. So bulk-wise, Electivire is only a little bit ahead, but it can't hold the Eviolite, which is a big reason why we go Eviolite on Electabuzz. Makes it a lot, obviously, bulkier. And then on top of that as well, the speed stat on Electivire is actually worse, right? So if you have a look here, Electivire is 95 speed, Electabuzz is 105. So Electabuzz is able to outspeed base 100s, things like Palafin, Charizard, all that kind of stuff, where Electivire cannot, which is a big reason to go that as well. And just in general, when you're running a Follow Me Pokemon, I think just having the bulk is a lot better. That's a big thing for me. So with a Violite and Follow Me, this is a really good redirection Pokemon. Thanks to its ability Vital Spirit, you can also redirect Amoonguss for free. You don't care too much about it. Another thing as well that I didn't mention before when we're talking about this, but if I go back to here, you'll see, looking at some of the things I said I need answers to, right? This Pokemon's good in terrain. It's an electric type. It's a Spore immunity as well, which is also really good. But the other major thing here is Mouse Ape. Now, one of the biggest issues with Mouse Ape currently is basically what they want to do is they just want to click Beat Up into their Annihilate. Now, the thing with the Mouse Ape right now is a lot of the mouse holds are just carrying the safety goggles, right? So they'll go something like this, and they'll just go safety goggles. And with the safety goggles, it allows them to be immune to powder moves, right? Which means you can't rage powder this. So if your Amoonguss goes to try to like rage powder, the mouse hold will just ignore you and still beat up the ally. Where if I lead with something like Electabuzz, he has to hit my Electabuzz, which is very, very important. That's another big reason why Buzz was kind of picked for this team. It honestly feels like it fills a really perfect niche. It's a very fast Pokemon. It's a good Follow Me Pokemon. Yeah, it just has a lot of really cool niches, I think. And that's a big reason why I kind of picked it for this team, right? It fills a lot of holes. But in saying that, while this mod has filled a majority of our holes, there is kind of another big hole we're kind of lacking, right, with this team. And that is currently Psy Spam. We currently don't have a Dark type on the team. And another issue as well is we don't have a Dragon. And the Dragon Fairy Steel stuff is another pretty good call, right? Fire Water Grass is standard, right? It is the go-to in VGC. But in the past, Dragon Fairy and Steel were also incredibly good. And again, I was like kind of looking through, I was like, all right, like what piece could I go for, right? There's a couple good Dark types, a couple good Dragon types, you're scrolling through, but it was this guy right here. Hydreigon is the one that jumped off the page to me, because one, it's a Dark type, two, it's a Dragon type. I think I really needed both, but there's a third option as well that it kind of has, and it is a potential answer to Blood Moon Ursaluna in a sense, and that's kind of why I ended up slotting it into the last slot on this team. Basically, for anyone who doesn't know how it functions into Ursaluna, because you have Levitate, they can't click Earth Power on you, and if you go for a Terror like Steel that resists the normal type moves, the Pokemon can be pretty damn good into it. So that's kind of why I ended up opting for Hydreigon in the last slot. So now that our pieces were all, kind of decided, I basically started writing down, just a bunch of notes on all of the Pokemon here. So as you can see, we have Talonflame. Its role on the team is to be a Tailwind setter, but I also decided that I needed it to be able to KO Grass types and KO Steel types, right? That was the biggest thing for me was, Pokemon like Rillaboom, I need you to be able to one-shot it, right? Pokemon like Gholdengo, I need you to be able to one-shot it. That was kind of a big role I needed the Talonflame to fill on this team. And that's why we'll kind of go into the set we have shortly. But, I wrote down things like Competition, Whimsicott, and Murkrow, right? So, for example, Whimsicott is, arguably the best Tailwind setter in the game. So when I was looking at my EVs, I needed to make sure that this Pokemon could answer the Whimsicott, right? You look at some of the drawbacks as well, right? It's a Fake Out and Priority, right? It's weak to things like E-Speed, Fake Out, Aqua Jet, stuff like that. Anything that can break its Gale Wings, basically, before you can get up your Tailwind is very annoying. I wrote down ways around it. Terra Ghost, of course. And then moves like Upper Hand, Quick Guard, abilities like Armor Tail, Dazzling, so on and so forth, right? And then I wrote down the Terra for this one. I decided to go with Ghost. And the reason for that, again, was Fake Out plus E-Speed. Dragonite is a Pokemon that I think will pick up a little bit in the near future. And Terra Ghost is also fantastic when leading it next to a Pokemon like Gholdengo, because if they lead their Fake Out mon, you can just go Terra Ghost, Tailwind, make it rain, and it's pretty good. And then in terms of calcs here, I did write down some calcs that I, thought were pretty important. A big one here was the Rillaboom calc. As you guys can see, Adamant 252 with Sharp Beak only KOs, max HP 4 defense Rillaboom 62% of the time. And while that's a roll in my favor, I would not be surprised to start seeing, Rillabooms running enough bulk to live that. And that's why I ended up opting for Life Orb on this set. So as you guys can see here, 236 Adamant Life Orb Brave Bird will always KO that. It's a guaranteed always KO. I did end up, I think, running 244. We'll see that shortly. But yeah, I felt that was pretty important to make sure I hit those numbers. And then in terms of speed, I said we need at least 180 speed with a, to outspeed basically, Jolly 180 to outspeed a Timid Max Whimsicott. Pretty important, right? I want to be able to make sure I definitely outspeed that Pokemon, and I can get off a Brave Bird and one-shot it if, if I feel like that's the right the right thing to do. And then the other one here was I needed Jolly 236 to outspeed a Jolly Meowscarada. Now, while Jolly Meowscarada is definitely not common right now, for the most part, they are running Adamant almost always. I do think it is important just to run that little bit of extra speed, especially too, because another big thing is going to be Talonflame mirrors. Because of this, I ended up just opting to run basically 252, 252. For me, I just said, you know what, stuff it. I don't want to be in a situation where I get outsped by a, a Jolly Meowscarada. I don't want to be in a position where I get outsped by, an opposing max Talonflame. So I ended up just opting for max, right? Now, again, I wrote notes for basically all the Pokemon here. We can, kind of go through them all. I don't want to go like too crazy, talking about their roles, but you guys can kind of see the notes I wrote, right? One of Decidueye's biggest issues is its lack of speed, right? Because of that, speed control was really important, and that's a big reason why I also added Electabuzz to the team. The reason for Terra Fire on this one, it's a good defensive typing for grass types, gives you a resistance to fire and a burn immunity, which is very good into Incense, because sometimes they do run Will-O-Wisp. In terms of the EVs here, this is another really, really basic one. I'm literally just 252, 252. The reason for that is because with Adamant 252 speed, you outspeed base 100s by 1 point, which is very important because, again, this combos really well with our Electabuzz. So basically, say, for example, we're going up against a Palafin, it's Jolly Max for whatever reason. Our Electabuzz is tech to be just 1 point faster than they are. So when you hit them with the Electro Web, they drop down to 111 speed. And our Gholdengo, our Hisuian Decidueye is 112 speed, so it will outspeed them, and it will be able to fire off an attack, which is very good. And then the bulk here, the reason I'm Adamant 252 is because we're an 81% chance to KO no bulk Gholdengos with our triple arrow. Now, we'll kind of get into the set again shortly, but that's pretty important too, because 50% of the time we will crit it. So while it's like an 81% chance to kill, 50% of the time on that roll, we're also just going to get a crit anyway. At that point, it doesn't matter. And the crit will always KO Gholdengo. Like, I'm pretty sure like a 252 bold will live it. But that's like super unrealistic. So yeah, that's the decision why we went 252 on the Decidueye. For Primarina, again, the answers to like the roll why I've got it here, you can read it there if you want. But the EVs, basically, we've calculated it to be 1 point faster than Timid Max Gholdengo at 1 speed. We also have put enough bulk on it to live a Adamant 252 Dondozo's Terra Grass with the Omni Boost. Terra Grass, Terra Blast. So we'll always live that. That allows us to, come in, we get our haze off, and then our, our teammates can kind of do the rest. And the nice thing as well with it was we're able to hit a bump number, which I personally love, right? You hit the bump number, you get that extra, stat. It's fantastic. And then Terra Poison is just a great Terra type for a Fairy type and a Water type, in my opinion. Buzz, again, I kind of went through it before, but its job on the team is to be just a really good support. Its EVs are very specific. The speed is to outspeed all base 100s, and the bulk allows it to live a Terra Water Choice Banded Basculegion in the rain. I believe I need Terra Dragon to do it. I'll double check the calc soon, but that was basically why we did it, right? Was because we want to make sure Basculegion can't just sweep through our team with Wave Crash. And again, Terra Dragon, it really helps out those rain teams. Gholdengo's job on the team is just to be a big damage dealer. The EVs on it allow us to live an Incense knockoff from Adamant 36, always, it always lives it. And then it also hits the perfect number as well to get that 1 extra HP from Leftovers and Rillaboom's Grassy Terrain. And then Terra Steel, its job on the team is just to deal damage, right? That's basically what it is. And as you guys can see here, a note I've put on the team is that might need assistance from Electabuzz for that extra bit of speed, since I opted to go Modest due to us putting, points into the bulk, which is very important to keep an eye on. And then finally, Hydreigon. Its job was simple. Terra Steel with Assault Vest allows it to, be really good into things like Blood Moon, Ursaluna, Gholdengo. It's really good into Psy Spam, and it also allows us to, deal quite a bit of damage into Dozo. Because the big thing with Dondozo is because of Unaware, you can keep dropping Draco Meteors on it, and it really doesn't matter. It just ignores your stat drops, which is really good. And then the EVs are pretty simple. We outspeed a timid Gholdengo, by 1 point. It also, our bulk basically allows us to live back-to-back Blood Moons always. I think the only way we die is if they max roll twice. So keep that in mind. And then with 36, it basically, 36 Modest allows us to always kill a Gholdengo with Dark Pulse into Earth Power. So basically what that means is, if they don't Terra, I'm pretty sure we just kill, or at least it's a roll to kill, depending on their bulk. But regardless, if we Dark Pulse, they Terra Steel on that same turn, we can then carry them with Earth Power the following turn, which for me was pretty important. Terra Steel is just a good defensive Terra, obviously helps out with Blood Moon, Ursaluna, and the Fairies. And then potential things to change. Again, these are things you'll learn just from testing out the team. I said it could be worth trying a more offensive Hydreigon. In my testing, Terra Steel felt pretty bad, and I'll show you guys that shortly. But yeah, Terra Steel didn't feel amazing. I was thinking maybe even putting the choice specs on Hydreigon, going for something like Terra Fire Heat Wave. I've got Terra Ghost on Electabuzz as well. I never once clicked the Terra Dragon. And then swapping Gholdengo to Metal Plate plus Nasty Plot. Just giving the team another way to play around Trick Room, because one of our biggest issues was my inability to click Protect a lot. Now, guys, with all that being said, this was the end result of the team. So as you can see here, this is the Decidueye team. Again, Talonflame, Life Orb, basically just max. I ended up opting just to split into the bulk to give it a little bit of extra survivability. The Decidueye here has Scope Lens, because Scope Lens plus Triple Arrow and Leaf Blade basically both have a 50% chance to crit. And then Upper Hand was just an answer into things like Grassy Glide Spam from Rillaboom. Really good at pinning it, especially when next to Talonflame. Also does quite a lot of damage as well to Incineroar if they go for the Fake Out, which is good to keep in mind. Primarina, I ended up going for Throat Spray because Hyper Voice plus Throat Spray is pretty good. This could also potentially be Mystic Water as well. It's something I thought about a bit. I definitely think Mystic Water is a solid option, and yeah, Haze is our Dondozo answer. Electabuzz on this team does have it's basically just the ultimate support for this team. Taunt is really good into things like Amoonguss, right, and other supports. Follow Me is also just fantastic as a redirection mon. Thunderbolt is also a pretty good offensive option. That was originally Volt Switch, but I felt like a lot of the time I actually vaulted out. I didn't like it. And then Electro Web is just really good support for the team, especially because a lot of my mons are really mid-speed for a Tailwind team. Gholdengo, its job on this team is just to make it rain. The times where I did click Trick, it ended up being really bad. Like, I tricked an Incin on a turn at Flare Blitz me, and it just is like, yeah, okay, it is what it is. I thought he was going to Fake Out, he didn't. But yeah, so this mod is there just to deal damage, carry the game for us. And then finally, Hydreigon on this team again. Its job is to be really bulky, but I could definitely see a world in where you want to run this a bit more offensive. Now, guys, before I move on to the next stage, I do just want to mention the damage calculator in case people don't know about it. Again, I'll link this down below in the description. But this is really good for helping you figure out your EVs essentially, right? So, for example, this is a Hydreigon set here. This is just the default one they have on the site. I personally calc mine to be a good answer into Gholdengo, right? So, for example, Choice Specs Gholdengo, one of the best ones in the format. If you take a look at our calc here, so we were 36, right? So we're 36, Modest Nature. We'll also drop this. So these were both 0. This was like 220, I think. And then this was just basically everything else, right? Yeah, it was basically back speed Modest, right? So if you have a look here, our Dark Pulse actually never KOs, right? If our opponent goes for Terra Steel, our Dark Pulse will deal 41%, right? And that was really important, and that's why I ended up opting for Earth Power. Again, this could probably be Heat Wave. It's entirely up to you and how you want to play it. I opted for Earth Power just because I felt like I needed the ground coverage. But if you have a look here, I will deal at least 41% minimum with the Dark Balls. I will then deal a minimum 62% with Earth Power, which for me was really important. And again, on this set with Terra Steel, basically Make It Rain just bounces off us, right? We can essentially just eat Make It Rains for days. Thanks to our Assault Vest plus our a lot of bulk. So again, I'm not going to go through all the EVs for the team. I kind of explained them the best I could going through it all. But yeah, that's how I kind of ended up with the EVs I ended up with. Now, the final thing I want to show you guys that I used at least for the team building progress and learning what the team needs and doesn't need here is the pass. I don't know how to pronounce it. The Palkia Academy Showdown reporting spreadsheet. Basically, this thing is one of the best resources you can have when it comes to playing this game. Basically, all you got to do, again, I'll link it down below in the description. You make a copy of it, you put in your showdown name, you put in the pace of the team. As you can see here, this is my Decidueye team. We got, Talonflame, Decidueye, Prim, Buzz, Gholdengo, and Hydreigon. It pulls all your sets down, it pulls all the information from the team. It's honestly fantastic. I guess as well, I'll show if anyone wants to or doesn't know how to make these pastes, because I see people will do this and then they'll like copy paste it into PokePaste. Don't do that, guys. On Showdown, just scroll down to the bottom here, and you just got upload to paste. It will create a paste of the team. Very important, I think. But yeah, basically, you drop that in here, and it does most of the work for you. All you need to do here is go to the replay tab, and then basically drop the replays in. Now, as you guys can see here, I played 40 test games. Technically, it was 41. I accidentally, I don't know what happened to the third replay here. I did beat this team, so technically, I'll add the extra win onto the record here, but as you guys can see, first games with the team were pretty rough, right? If you have a look at the first, 15 games, I went 5. I won 5. I was 5-10 to start the team. For me, at least, it was the learning process, kind of understanding the team. A big thing for me as well when I'm testing new teams is trying to not bring the mod I built the team around. I felt like when I first started playing the team, all I did was bring Decidueye into games probably where Decidueye wasn't great. Like, for example, this team here kept bringing it into this. Didn't really get to do too much, right? But yeah, this is just a fantastic way to keep track of your games as well. Also really good as well for taking inspiration from people you play against. You can put your notes in here. I opt to do it in, I think, was it this one? Yeah, I put my notes in here, which again, it's fantastic for this, because again, you just write down, the notes. Like, for example, when I played against this team, I felt like my play was too passive, right? I was, maybe defensive switching too much, protecting too much where I needed to go on the offensive. This one here as well, I said I needed to make reads more. I played too safe into the rain. Off memory with this game, basically, I just kept letting the Pelipper pivot in and out, and I just wasn't punishing it. I'd click an Earth Power onto something that was pivoting into Pelipper. It wasn't great. This one here, I didn't respect the Pawmud enough. As you can see, I won game 1, I lost the next 2. That was simply because in game 2 and 3, I think it revived the Dondozo both times, and it was just me ignoring it, letting it do its thing. But yeah, fantastic for that as well. You put all the usage stats in. I honestly can't praise this spreadsheet enough. It's, again, there's so much stats in this. It's unreal. I personally love it. You can see here as well, the mons that had the best win rates. For example, Decidueye actually was the best mon on the team, 67% win rate. Hydreigon was the worst at 43, showing that, hey, maybe 1, the Hydreigon set isn't actually working, or 2, maybe it just isn't the mon for the team. You can also see here as well, the mons I use the Terra on. I'm not surprised Gholdengo is the mon that I use the Terra on the most. For me, it's just, you click Terra Steel, make it rain, it's pretty freaking good. I only clicked Terra once on Buzz and on Prim, but really their jobs aren't to Terra on this team. When I Terra'd the Talonflame, I won the games a lot. When I Terra'd the Decidueye, I won the games a lot. But when I was Terraing my Hydreigon, I was not winning the games. So what that tells me is Hydreigon was not doing its job in the games it was supposed to, right? In the games where Hydreigon came to be an answer to stuff, it clearly wasn't working, right? That's a big thing for me. And you can see here as well, all the mods when I lead them. Every mod on this team, besides, technically Buzz is 50-50, but Hydreigon, when I led it, didn't really do what it needed to. So again, maybe that's something where it's either 1, the Hydreigon set's bad, or maybe 2, it's just not the mon for the team. That's something I'll have to figure out. A big one here as well, you'll see in the games where I led Talonflame plus Electabuzz, I was 1-4. It's a really bad lead. Don't do it. I learned that myself. I put it in my notes. I think, where was it here? Yeah, I said, no, it was this one here. Can't lead Talonflame plus Buzz into Trick Room. One or the other. Basically, the idea for this one, and shout out to Bray as well, fan of the channel, he said that in the game. My issue was, I was basically leading the 2 of them. 1, I felt like I needed Talonflame, basically to enable, in case they went the Sun mode. But 2, Electabuzz was the only mon on my team that could actually rival the Lilligant speed after a Tailwind. And basically what happened was I led them to both games, he led Psyspam both games indeed he had, and I was just in a position where even if I clicked Taunt, it was useless. It was doing nothing. And yeah, basically just let the Indeedee and Hatterene basically control the game. But yeah, this is, again, one of my favorite resources. I highly recommend you guys check it out. It's really, really helpful for playing, for practicing, also figuring out what your worst matchups are. As you can see here, Hat was my worst matchup, Gallade was my second worst. It's not fantastic. Also, this here as well, this is one of my favorite sections. It basically shows you what you are and aren't using on the mon. For example, Talonflame's getting a lot of use out of all of its moves, fantastic. Same goes for Decidueye. It's clicking all of its moves, which is good. Upper hand is obviously a tech that doesn't come into play too often. Prim, again, it's clicking both of its stab moves. It's clicking Haze. Fantastic. The Electabuzz is clicking all its moves. Gholdengo, it's mostly clicking Make It Rain, but that's what it's built to do. And then Hydreigon is clicking the Earth Power. To me, that was the most important thing. Does it click Earth Power? If it doesn't click Earth Power, I need to move on from it. But you see here, I'm spamming Snarl, I'm spamming Dark Pulse. Its job on this team is to be a dragon type, sorry, to be a Dark type, not a Dragon type. And again, because of that, maybe I tweak things around and change shit up. But yeah, really, really good resource, guys. I highly recommend it. For me, it helps out a lot when building these teams. And yeah, that's essentially the process I went through when building this team. We'll do one practice best of 3, I guess, to wrap up this video. All right, so we have a bit of rain here. Let's have a look what we're dealing with. So we got Mouse Ape plus rain. Okay, and then double fake out. So this is perfect, right? For me, this is where we get to show off the core of this team, which is Buzz plus Decidueye. It's really, really good here. I think I want to bring... Do I want Primarina or do I want Speed Control? I think Talonflame is going to be pretty good here. And then probably Gholdengo as well. It's either Gholdengo or Prim. Do you have... What are you? You just beat up your Rage Fist, yeah. The issue is I don't like our ways through Incin. I'm going to go Prim game 1 to test this out. I think Gholdengo might be better, but our issue here is removing the Incin. But our opponent also might just not bring it to this matchup. Alright, so we got to see this here. So is this... Yeah, this is probably just beat up shenanigans, right? Yeah, so for me, this is easy. We're just going to go follow me triple arrow. You get to see Decidueye as a broken move here. It's pretty damn busted. Because this should likely just be probably beat up. Buzz will take it really easy. And we can also just eat anything this guy goes for as well, right? We resist the Electro Shot. He won't be able to set up the Body Press, and the Draco and Flash Cannon shouldn't deal too much. The Draco is probably the biggest issue, but again, once he clicks it once, it's feeling pretty bad for him. Curious what he's going to do here. He's going to go Pelipper. That's fine. It means he's going Electro Shot. But again, this is okay. This is why we lead Buzz. And I mean, look at that crit, boys. Look at that crit. His game's done. Yeah, and now, are you Wide Guard? You are not Wide Guard. So this is just a free Electro Web into Leaf Blade. And we should be able to just pick up... Actually, no. We're going to go Electro Web into... Yeah, your Terra goes. We're going to go Triple Axle. Or Triple Arrow here. If he Terras, we should still kill. And if he doesn't, or if he switches or something like that, we'll also still just pick up a KO. Also, too, we got to make sure we add it to our spreadsheet. Put it there just in case. But yeah, this is it. Perfect start to the game for us. We get the Electro Web, which means now we are now faster with our Decidueye. And yeah, this is a really good start to the game. Decidueye just showing its crits off here. We're looking pretty good here. And yeah, he's just going to give us game 1. Very, very nice. Get back here really quickly. Let's copy our replay here. Chalk it in and go back to here. So, game 2, I see no reason to change anything up there. Obviously, Prim didn't come, but he didn't show Incin. So I'm going to go Gholdengo this game. Based off of how he played that, he probably had Ape in the back would be my assumption. Because yeah, I mean, that was a super clean game. Like, you also see what happens too. Like, this is I'm pretty sure this is a roll, right? Let's go, Decidueye, offensive sash, it doesn't matter. Versus Chaludon, stamina set. If we just crit the triple arrow. Okay, apparently it's not a guaranteed kill if he's max HP. But I mean, look, we take that. That's a very solid roll. See how our opponent wants to lead things this game. He's going to go Arch and he's going to go Rilla. Okay, so I really don't think we care here, do we? Like, what could you do? Because what, he's going to go, like, fake out U-turn or something. I feel like we just go Protect here, and then we just go Electro Web. Yeah, he's just going to go fake out there, and then what's he going to go, like, Draco or something? Yeah, perfect, perfect, perfect. Sick. All right, and now this is just going to be triple arrow into this slot, and we'll just go with the... You want to go follow me here? He could also just go Terra Fairy to... We'll just go follow me here. I don't want to lose my Decidueye right now. I don't think I would, but Draco plus U-turn might get me out of here. So, I mean, it would likely get me out of here. So I want to just play it a bit safer here. I don't mind that. We're just going to flinch him anyway, right? Flinch. Or we get the defense drop. That's all right. Oh, that's bad. That KO'd us. Flinch? No. Okay. So, the issue we now have here is our opponent... actually, is this an issue? I don't think this is an issue. We've got a Goldie. We'll just go for the upper hand here, and I guess we just go on the offensive right now. Because we should outspeed a majority of his team here. Upper hand fails, but that's fine. We should just KO Rillaboom here, I think. Yeah, easy. He's also not wide guard as well, which puts us in a pretty good spot. Decidueye's healing up a lot here as well. What's he gonna send in here? Like, the Archaladon's game's kind of over. I don't think... and we know we're faster with Decidueye too, so we can just, like, Leaf Blade, make it rain if that thing comes in. Put the timer on here. Don't have all day. He goes into the Ape. Okay, so going into the Ape is a little scary. Because he can just Drain Punch off us here. You do have Tailwind. Chances are this is faster. What I'm going to do here is try to keep my Gholdengo alive a turn. Yeah, go on. Show me... Oh, he's really slow. Look at that damage, man. That's insane. Show me Drain Punch into the 8, please. Oh, sorry, into the other guy. Not actually ideal. We don't love that. But I mean, we just go again, right? This time we just go Tailwind. The Pelipper can't kill both our Mons. And if he protects 8, kills the other, then Gholdengo just wins. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, this is completely fine. I don't think we care. Yeah. Because now this is just free for us to... Dude, we're also getting all our HP back on Decidueye here. Or we do lose the grassy terrain, which is kind of sad, actually. But we just go Leaf Blade and we just go Brave Bird here. Because Brave Bird should just kill the Annihilate. He doesn't have Terror. If he switches to Pelipper, he also dies. Archaladon probably lives even if we crit, but it'll do enough damage that Make It Rain always kills. Yeah, I think this one's packed up. Actually, a great showcase for Pelipper, sorry, for Decidueye and Electabuzz as well, because a big thing with this team... Yeah, okay, he's just going to give me the Pelipper here. Like, a big thing for me in particular was I wanted to make sure we didn't just, like, hard lose to Rain. Because it is, like, arguably the best archetype in the game right now. Who's he going to take? Probably Talonflame? Yeah, I mean, this is ideal for us, right? He's going to have to get, like... I mean, it doesn't even matter, right? I'm pretty sure we just outspeed his team here. And crit right now would also just kill. But yeah, for me, like, again, if you go back to here and you, like, look at the top teams in this event, like, Rain is everywhere. So for me, it was really important to, like, be able to beat these Rain teams. That's a big reason why I chose Electabuzz as my redirection mon. But yeah, Gholdengo just... Gholdengo does Gholdengo things, I guess. But yeah, fantastic showcase there for the boys. We are slowly moving up the ladder. This was a fresh account, basically. But yeah, as you guys can see, dude, like, I started slow with the team. But really, since, like, that loss streak ended, I've had, like, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5... 6, 7 L's with the team. I'm on a, what's it, like a 7-game win streak. And then, like, what's that? So I've said 7 losses. So 16 to that is, what's that? 4, 26. 26 takes 7. So I'm 19-7 in my last set of games. And again, you look at it match by match. In my last, like, what, 10 best of 3s, I've lost 1. So yeah, it takes a little bit of getting used to. But yeah, that's the team, guys. Again, I'll drop the pace down below. And if you guys also, yeah, just like this kind of content, let me know. I don't expect to be doing, like, team building guides or breakdowns like this too often. But if you guys want to see more stuff like this, I guess let me know. You know, I'm always happy to share my teams and basically the thought process that goes into actually building them. Yeah, anyway, that's it for this one, guys. I'll catch you to the next one. Peace.